Okay, Terrance versus Jasmine. This is anyone's game. Looking close and, Terrance falls way behind. Looks like Jasmine is gonna win this and, wait, what was that? That's certainly a bit odd. In a perfect world, every Big Brother competition would play out fair. Every house guest has a fair chance at winning power, the competition itself is balanced, and no wacky curveballs are thrown. Unless our least favorites are winning, of course. But naturally, since this is the real world and not a perfect world, competitions don't always play out like that. Whether it's a house guest pushing the limits of what they think is within the rules, a simple mistake made on the producer's end, or a really head-turning display of possible rigging, there have been more than a handful of controversial competition wins throughout Big Brother's history.
This bitch took the doll out of my hand. Intentionally removing the doll from my hand is physically described as assault in the outside world.
Don't be mad at me.
No, Janelle, that's poor sportsmanship. You don't need to hug.
To start off, we have Big Brother 5. This is something I don't think I've ever seen talked about, and it's the Final 7 HOH. The premise is basically that 3 house guests at a time will go to their own putting green, and the first person to sink their golf ball and have it reach the bottom of the hole will win the heat and move on to the final round. In the second heat, it was Marvin versus Karen, and Adria was there, but she wasn't involved in this. Marvin had a nice shot lined up, and it actually entered the hole first, but it did that little roundabout swirly thing. And while this was happening, Karen's ball ricocheted off the backboard and into the hole, dropping straight down and hitting the bottom before Marvin's golf ball did. This means that, technically speaking, Karen should have been the winner, but Julie had already congratulated Marvin on winning the heat, and everyone moved on. This definitely had an effect on the game, as Marvin ended up winning the HOH, so it's definitely a tiny bit of a controversial victory.
The first person to sink a putt and whose ball drops all the way to the bottom of the tube wins the round. Oh, nice job, Marvin. Congratulations as the winner of group number 2.
If you've seen my most popular video before, you might have an idea of the next controversial victory. It's Dick versus Zach in the final HOH of Big Brother 8. After Dick answered the first question correctly and took a 1-0 lead over Zach, something peculiar happens. Dick answered every question from there on out exactly the same as Zach did, but what makes it eyebrow-raising is that he always answered after Zach. The rumor is that Dick was able to see Zach through one of the many mirrors in the living room, and knowing that he had a lead, all he had to do was look at Zach's choices and answer the exact same way every single time, and he would win the final HOH. It's unclear whether it's true or not, but it can look a little fishy, and it's definitely a little bit controversial.
Answers, please. I need an answer, Dick. Answers, please. Answers, please. Answers, please. Answers, please. I need an answer. Congratulations, Dick. You are the final head.
The next controversial one is quite possibly the most famous controversial question of all time, and it might just be the only thing you know about Big Brother 9. I am, of course, talking about the guinea pig question at the Final 4 HOH. Sharon was up by 1 point against Ryan going into the final question, and the question was asking if there was still a pre-existing relationship in the house. The obvious answer was that there was not, because that was the truth. But Ryan, realizing that he was down, went for the Hail Mary and said that there was still a pre-existing relationship. After locking in the answers, it seems like even the producers got confused because there was a really long pause from everyone.
The correct answer.
After the pause, Julie came back and said that there was indeed a pre-existing relationship still inside of the house, and then let us viewers know that the relationship in question was the house pets, the guinea pigs. What the hell? It's super controversial, and it led to a tiebreaker question that Ryan ended up winning, which then led to Sharon, the person who rightfully should have won the HOH, being evicted instead in 4th place. It's wild and definitely a 10 out of 10 controversial moment.
There is a third pre-existing relationship still in the house. Answers, please. The correct answer is fact. There is one other pre-existing relationship still in the house. we have a tie between Ryan and Sharon.
The next one is in Big Brother 11. To start the season off, the house guests were split into 4 cliques and sent out into a competition, with the premise being that whichever clique won the competition would be safe for the week and would gain an additional member to their team. What they didn't know is that this additional member would be a returning house guest. Nothing seems off so far. Of the cliques, there were the brains, the offbeats, the populars, and the athletes, and the competition ended up being a strength endurance comp. That seems to really favor one of those cliques, wouldn't you say? As fate would have it, the athletes went on to dominate the competition, and house guest Jesse Goddard entered the game. The controversy comes into play when you look at how this comp was pretty set up for the athletes to win, leading some to believe that the producers tipped the scale in Jesse's favor and wanted him to enter the house over the other returnees. Maybe they felt bad about how they were kind of responsible for his eviction the prior season, or maybe they just really didn't want someone like Cowboy to be the one returning player for Big Brother 11. Regardless of the reasoning, more than a few fans found this to be a tad bit suspicious.
I'm bigger and better than last year by 20 lbs and almost a whole inch on my guns. Oh yeah, that's nice. Yes! There we go. Good job.
Thanks, Jeff.
Congratulations, athletes. You have won the first HOH competition for your clique.
Talking about being suspicious, I don't know if there is a moment in the entire history of Big Brother that the fans consider to be more blatantly rigged than this one, the Pandora's box twist at the final 6 of Big Brother 13. We're not even gonna get into the logistics of the twist because just the veto competition is sus on its own. Many fans thought that the producers pulled out the Pandora's box twist at the final 6 because they wanted Rachel and Jordan to stay in the game, and well, the veto comp that they chose definitely did not help them look innocent. It was an endurance type comp that looked extremely familiar to the first HOH comp of the season, in which Rachel won. The comp itself was even called Duo Do-Over. So with this comp being a bit of a do-over, it only made sense that Rachel went on to win it again, because she had already proven to be the best at it out of all the house guests. It's a little bit controversial to say the least.
Congratulations, Rachel. You are the first HOH of the summer.
This competition is called the Duo Do-Over because the last house guest hanging on will win the power of veto.
I know you like hanging on to Brendan. I can hang on to Brendan for the rest of my life. I think you're going to, right? Good job.
I won the veto! Oh my gosh, I am so excited. This is for Brendan.
In Big Brother 15, the biggest controversy is, of course, Helen being pushed. I don't care if Helen herself claims time and time again that she wasn't pushed. We all know that she was paid off by the producers to say that. But for real, the actual controversial competition win is the Week 2 Slip and Slide HOH, where the house guests were paired up into groups of 2, and in order to fill up their tanks with the barbecue sauce goo, they had to meet each other in the middle and pour the goo from one cup to the other. Aaron and Jeremy allegedly were just handing off their cups to one another instead of pouring, which would save them a lot of time and result in less goo lost on the transfer. And if this is true, it is definitely a factor that led to them winning the comp. It was never just on the show and is a bit controversial in my book.
At which point, they will pour their sauce into their teammate's cup.
Don't freak out, just pour it nice and slow. Make sure we get a lot.
I'm good. Guys, any tiring? No, I've got it. We're gonna sleep in HOH tonight.
Now, not only do we have a double header up next, but they literally happened in back-to-back days inside the house. In Big Brother 16, at the start of Week 7, Frankie Grande was nominated for eviction next to Caleb, and the two were to be partners for the upcoming Battle of the Block. According to some of the house guests, they were told that the Battle of the Block was going to start in about an hour, and in that time, it was determined by a group of house guests that Caleb was going to throw the Battle of the Block by sitting out of it to ensure that Frankie would lose and be evicted at the end of the week. So the house guests were ready to put their plan into action, and all they had to do was wait for the comp to start. So they waited, and waited, and waited. According to Zach, 10 hours had gone by, and in that time, it sounded like the competition that was originally set up in the backyard had been completely torn down and a brand new competition had been set up, this time being one that could be won by a single person. Already suspicious enough, but once they get out there and Caleb realizes that it would be better to throw the comp by playing with Frankie and just sabotaging it, production allegedly refused to let Caleb participate because he had already chosen to sit out the competition. Therefore, Frankie was then allowed to go forth and win the comp, and if everything that Zach said was true, it looks extremely fishy and controversial.
They're in the backyard building the competition, okay?
Yeah.
House guests, the competition's at 4 o'clock. 5 hours go by, 6 hours go by, 12 hours go by. We're like, what's going on here? Set up an entire competition in the backyard. They took down the entire competition to build a completely different one.
But not just one day later, another controversial occurrence happened, but this time being a lot less major and could be legitimate luck. After Frankie and Caleb won the Battle of the Block, the final nominees going into the veto comp were Zach and Donnie, the two fan favorites for the season. The comp was OTEV, and according to Zach, they made Zach position himself at the end of the stools, where he realized that he could look over the edge of the set and see all of the answers out in the backyard, an advantage that no other player had. Zach claims to have used this to his advantage, and he ended up winning OTEV, and whether or not Zach's predetermined position for the OTEV competition was devised by the producers to give Zach an edge, or if it was just coincidence, it's something that we'll never know, but I thought it was worth mentioning.
Yeah.
And they say, Zach, you're there, Christine, you're there, Nicole, you're there. I was on the end, and on the end of the podium, I was able to see over all of the drinks, because we had to grab the drinks and bring them back for OTEV. I had a perfect view of the entire field, and I said, there's a Devin one, there's an Amber one, there's a Pow one, whatever. It's like that. I could see every single one. But Donnie over there and Nicole over there, like, they can't see any of them. So when they said, okay, go find an Amber, I was like, there's one right there. Everyone else is looking for it in the bushes and, like, crawling through the mud looking for it. And I'm like, there's an Amber, a Devin, and I'm the only person that can see it.
Now, here is another one that I've discussed in the past, and I know there'd be hell to pay if I didn't at least mention it. So here it is. At the Final 8 of Big Brother 20, it was an endurance comp where the house guest had to stand on discs, and the last house guest standing would win. At one point, Casey says in a diver room segment that the house guest had to have at least 1 foot on the disc at all times, which raised a lot of hell in the community because Tyler was seen at one point holding himself up with just his arms and neither of his feet were touching the disc. Whether or not this is an actual rule or not, Tyler went on to win the HOH and basically solidified Level 6's victory over Faute, and to say that many fans were unhappy that this was never addressed on the show is an understatement. But here it is. Feel free to draw your own conclusions.
I seriously might throw up.
This is way harder than it looks. Not only are you spinning, but you at least have to keep 1 foot on the disc at all times.
Oh, let's go! Oh my God! Guess what, guys? Ty's the new HOH.
Another one that I'd get called out for if I didn't mention it, Jackson Mickey allegedly received cues from production that he was not performing correctly during the final veto of Big Brother 21. Apparently, Jackson was misreading one of the prompts for the questions that was being asked and kept doing the opposite of what he was supposed to be going for. And production had to step in and be like, hey buddy, let's read a little more careful. Jackson then went on to win the veto by just a couple minutes, and this angered a lot of fans as they thought that production went out of their way to help Jackson and to rig his victory, as without the help from production, Jackson likely would not have won the final veto. However, I've also heard that all of the house guests needed some help from the producers, and given Jackson's treatment at the finale, I doubt the producers were going out of their way to help crown him the winner.
Did not receive. I keep hitting the wrong faces and I keep having to reset.
No, damn it! No! Damn it! Are you kidding me? Damn it! Oh, damn it! I could have done better. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Now, here's a little bit of a baby one, and it really is just a set oversight. In the first HOH of Big Brother 22, the house guests one at a time had to walk along a series of platforms to get to the end goal. However, some of the platforms were fake and were not solid and would cause the player to fall. In order to try and maintain a fair playing field, the house guests were held out of sight while each player went so that they couldn't learn the correct route and which platforms were the decoys. So, Memphis went first, fell a few times, but eventually found his way to the end. But the mistake happens in that Cody was immediately brought out to do his attempt, but the decoys never stopped wobbling. Cody was able to see a few of the platforms still shaking, giving him an advantage that Memphis and the other house guests didn't have, because after Cody went, they started waiting until all the platforms stopped moving to bring out the next player. It's really not that controversial or anything, but Cody definitely got an advantage going into the competition, and nobody came close to beating his time.
Step up to the starting platform.
Sounded
And
painful.
remember, waiting for everything to stop wobbling. Okay, Nicole, come on out.
And now, lastly, we get to the one we've all been waiting for. Did Jasmine's foot touch the floor during her heat in the Week 2 HOH of Big Brother 24? At first glance, it definitely appeared to be so. A few pieces of confetti moved as if they had been touched by, say, a foot. And Julie even said, "Wait just a second, Jasmine, maybe you didn't win." The camera was panned in just a way that made it impossible to not get a great look at whether or not her foot had hit the ground, because of course it was. But at the end of the day, I do believe that if the producers say it didn't touch, then it didn't touch. Jasmine then rolled her ankle walking off the platform, and while that doesn't have anything to do with anything, it was an additional factor that made it all the more mind-boggling when I woke up on Friday morning and saw that Jasmine had gone on to win the entire HOH comp. In fact, I'm writing this on the Friday morning after the HOH went down, basically right after I found out that Jasmine had won HOH, so I have no idea what the actual competition ended up being, or if they show on the Sunday episode proof that Jasmine did in fact not touch the floor during her heat, but regardless of what's shown, I'm sure Jasmine won it fair and square. But you have to admit that it definitely felt a little controversial watching it live on Thursday, and like the showrunners just said, okay Jasmine, because you got hurt, we'll just give you the win in this heat and move on with things.
All right, congratulations, Jasmine. Actually, hang on. All right. And we have confirmation that you won. We checked tape, so stay there and celebrate that win. All right. You earned it, lady.
Congratulations, Jasmine! You are the new HOH!
I just won the freaking HOH! I was feeling really defeated after the first comp, and now I can finally get my target out of this house.
And there we go. Some of the comp wins were a lot more controversial than the others, but at the end of the day, this is all just wild speculation that we're having fun with. I'm not calling the producers out or saying that the show is rigged, just poking fun at some of the crazy conspiracy conclusions that we have come up with as a community. Thank you for watching and getting to this point. If you're new here, consider subscribing. As this is a Thursday, I will be going live on my Twitch later before and during the live show to just talk Big Brother and watch alongside you all, so come check it out to just chill and hang out. Of course, I need to give that extra special shout out to all of my YouTube members. There's been such an uptick in the number of you recently, and I really appreciate it. And as far as I'm aware, there is nothing controversial about any of you. And as always, here's a clip for you on your way out.
Alcohol. Letter! Can you hit me a little harder next time? I want everything you got.
Oh, Haleigh.
Are you okay, Haleigh?
Did it get you in the face?